My name is Alina Patel, and when people look at me today, they see a woman who smiles easily, who laughs loudly, who walks with a softness and a confidence that feels natural, almost effortless. But nothing about me was effortless. Not then, not when the story you're about to hear was unfolding like a slow undoing of everything I thought I was. This story isn't loud. It doesn't start with screams or broken glass or some dramatic betrayal. It starts quietly, the way heartbreak usually does. It starts with love, or what I thought was love. The first encounter. I was 27 when I met Daniel. It was a warm Sunday afternoon in June at a charity book fair in the local library. I was volunteering at a table stacked with old paperback novels, the kind that smell like folded memories and forgotten summers. He walked up with a gentle smile that made me exhale without meaning to. "Do you have anything here that feels like a second chance?" he asked. I laughed. "In books or in life?" He tilted his head. "Maybe both." 20 minutes of conversation felt like hours made from some softer fabric of time. He bought a romance novel he didn't care about and said, "Maybe you can tell me later if it was worth it." We exchanged numbers. I walked home feeling like magic had brushed past me, leaving behind the faint scent of possibility. Back then, I believed in signs, in meant to be, in love arriving like sudden rain, unexpected, transforming everything in seconds. If only I knew. Storms feel like blessings in their first drop. The perfect beginning. The first few months were beautiful, frighteningly beautiful. He remembered everything, my favorite colors, the songs I played on repeat, how I took my coffee, the way my hands fidgeted when I was nervous. Sometimes he'd place his hand gently over mine and whisper, "You don't have to pretend around me." And I believed him. He brought hand-picked flowers to my tiny apartment, cooked dinner on Fridays, left soft little notes in my bag. "You make the world softer. You deserve light. I'm grateful for you." And I blossomed under that attention. But here's the thing about love. It can feel like sunlight and shadow at the same time. Looking back now, I see it clearly. He wasn't loving me. He was studying me, learning my hopes, my fears, my vulnerabilities, like a map he'd use later. But back then, all I saw was tenderness. Red flags whisper first. The changes were small at first. Too small. One evening, I told him about a promotion at work. Excited, hopeful. He smiled and said, "Promotion? You? Oh, Lena, you get overwhelmed so easily. Maybe stay in your lane." I laughed, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. Another night, I wore a lavender dress to dinner. It made me feel feminine, pretty. He looked at me and said, "It's nice, but don't wear colors that attract too much attention. I don't like people staring at you." I told myself it meant he cared. I told myself it was love, but love that asks you to shrink? To bend? To disappear? Is not love. It is erasure. The December everything changed. It was the second week of December. The city was wrapped in winter. Soft frost, blinking lights, quiet streets. I came home exhausted. The apartment was dark, cold, silent. On the kitchen table, one note. "You're slipping. Fix it." No greeting, no explanation. Just blame. My heart dropped so fast it felt physical. I sat on the bathroom floor, knees pressed to my chest, trying to breathe through a sadness too big for my body. I cried for the version of myself I was losing, for the loneliness that wrapped around me even when he was near. And even then, I didn't think about leaving. I thought about trying harder. That's the cruelty of emotional pain. It convinces you are the problem. A stranger who saw me. The next morning I left early. I couldn't face him. The cold air felt like the world trying to wake me up. At the bus stop, an older woman with silver hair looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Whatever you're carrying, dear, put it down before it crushes you." I froze. She didn't know me, but somehow she saw everything. Her words echoed the entire day. Put it down before it crushes you. That was the first brick removed from my walls. The napkin. During lunch, I sat alone in a cafe. Warm lights, soft jazz, fresh schwa bread. I picked up a pen and wrote on a napkin, "I choose myself." 3 small words, but they felt like rebellion. I folded the napkin and pressed it against my heart. I didn't know what choosing myself would look like. Not yet. But I knew I needed to start. Sometimes change begins quietly. With a stranger, with a whisper, with a napkin. And this is where the real story begins. Because healing doesn't start when you leave. It starts when you see. See the truth. See the pain. See the possibility of something better. That December, I saw myself for the first time in years. This is where my story shifts, where I begin to become, where life starts pulling me gently toward freedom. What happened next? The transformation, the confrontation, the night I finally walked away, that is the heart of this story. And I will tell you. But first, breathe with me. Because the hardest part is still ahead. The morning after I wrote those 3 words on that small cafe napkin, "I choose myself," something inside me felt different. Not louder, not braver, just awake. Like a tiny light had turned on in a dark room. Barely visible, but enough to make the shadows uncomfortable. I went to work as usual that day, answering emails, sitting through meetings, pretending everything was normal. But something had shifted. Quietly, gently, like a seed pushing its way through the soil without announcing itself. Daniel texted me twice that afternoon. "Daniel, where are you? You left early." "Daniel, we need to talk when you get home." Old me would have felt panic. Old me would have rehearsed apologies in my head. Old me would have tried to fix things before he even said what the problem was. But that day, I stared at his messages, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel fear. I felt distance. Like the invisible thread that had tied us together had started thinning. Not because he loosened it, but because I finally stopped pulling it tighter. And it terrified me. Not because I was losing him, but because I was starting to find myself. The return home. That evening, I walked into the apartment, expecting tension, silence, something sharp in the air. But instead, Daniel was calm, too calm. He sat on the couch, scrolling his phone, pretending he hadn't been waiting. He looked up and said, "You seem off." No, How was your day? No kindness, just accusation wrapped in softness. I hung my coat and replied quietly, I'm tired. He narrowed his eyes. You're always tired. I bit the inside of my cheek, a habit I picked up to stop myself from speaking the truth. I had a rough night, I said. He sighed dramatically, like my emotions were an inconvenience. You need to stop being so sensitive, Alina. It's exhausting for both of us. I stood there in the doorway, watching him, really watching him, and I suddenly felt like I was looking at a stranger. Not because he had changed, but because I had. The shift was tiny, but it was real. I didn't defend myself. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. I just nodded slightly and went to take a shower. And as the warm water hit my skin, I realized something. For the first time, I did not crumble under his disapproval. I simply let it pass. The mirror moment. After the shower, I wiped the steam from the mirror and looked at myself. Really looked. My eyes were tired, my cheeks slightly hollow, my smile lines faded like a memory. And I wondered, when did I lose myself? And why did I let it happen? The woman staring back at me felt familiar and foreign at the same time. She looked like someone who had been quiet for too long. I touched the mirror lightly, almost like reaching out to her. I'm coming back, I whispered. It was the first promise I ever made to myself. The dinner that wasn't really dinner. We sat down to eat later, pasta he had reheated from the night before. He didn't ask where I had been in the morning. He didn't mention the note he left. It was like he expected me to sweep my feelings under the rug like always. Halfway through dinner, he finally spoke. You're different today. I kept my eyes on my plate. Maybe. He said, You're being distant. Irritation seeping through the cracks in his voice. I shrugged. I'm thinking. He laughed. Not the soft, playful laugh from our first months. No, this one was sharp. Don't overthink, Alina. That's not your strength. Something inside me flinched. But something else, something new, stood up taller. I put my fork down slowly. Maybe you don't know what my strengths are. He looked up, surprised, offended, confused. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said quietly. But it meant everything. Because for the first time, I didn't swallow the hurt. I didn't let him shrink me without resistance. I didn't break. And that tiny act, that small refusal, felt like a revolution. The night of the journal. After he fell asleep, I sat on the couch with a blanket wrapped around me. The apartment was silent except for the low hum of the heater. I pulled out an old journal I hadn't touched in years. The pages smelled like dust and forgotten dreams. On a fresh page, I wrote, When did I start disappearing? Words spilled out of me like water breaking through a cracked dam. I wrote about the first red flag, the second one, the 100th one, the fear, the confusion, the loneliness, the shrinking, the way I stopped laughing as loudly, the way I stopped dressing the way I liked, the way I stopped wanting things for myself because it was easier to want whatever he wanted. And then I wrote the sentence that broke me. I miss the girl I used to be. I cried again, but it wasn't the same kind of crying as before. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't hopeless. It was cleansing. Every tear felt like it was washing away a piece of the heaviness I hadn't realized I was carrying for so long. A friend I had pushed away. The next day at work, my coworker and old friend, Maya, stopped me in the hallway. She looked at me closely, her eyebrows knitting together. "You okay? You look lighter but tired." I almost laughed. That was exactly how I felt. "I'm figuring things out." She hesitated like she wanted to say more, then finally whispered, "I've been worried about you for months. You stopped talking, you stopped coming out with us, you changed." My chest tightened. "I know," I said softly. She shook her head gently. "I'm just glad you're coming back." Coming back. Those words stayed with me the rest of the day. Not leaving, not running, not breaking. Coming back. Coming back to myself. Daniel's control tightened. That evening, Daniel was waiting for me again. This time, not calm, not gentle. He stood by the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. He said, "We need to talk." I set my bag down slowly. "About what?" He said, You're acting strange. Did someone say something to you? Did someone put ideas in your head?" Ideas? He said it like independence was a disease someone could infect me with. I took a slow breath to steady myself. "No," I replied. "I'm just thinking." He scoffed. "You overthink everything. This is why you need me." There it was. The truth beneath the charm, the ownership beneath the tenderness. He needed me to need him, because if I didn't, he would lose control. "I don't want to fight," I said quietly. "I'm not fighting. I'm trying to get you back on track, Alina, before you spiral again. You're emotionally unstable when you start questioning too much." And just like that, he labeled my self-awareness as instability. Old Alina would have believed him. This Alina didn't. At least not fully. Not anymore. The coffee shop realization. The next morning, I went back to the same cafe during my break. I ordered a tea and sat in the same corner booth. I pulled the old napkin from my coat pocket and unfolded it. I choose myself. I traced the letters with my fingertip, and I felt it. A pull toward the woman I wanted to become. A woman who wasn't afraid. A woman who didn't shrink. A woman who didn't apologize for existing. While I was lost in thought, the barista, a young man with kind eyes, paused by my table. "You okay?" he asked. I smiled softly, trying to be. He nodded like he understood more than he was supposed to. Sometimes trying is the bravest part. I didn't realize until he walked away that I had been holding my breath. Trying. Yes. Trying was brave. Trying was choosing myself. Trying was enough. The line I wouldn't cross again. That evening, Daniel questioned me again. Where I had been, why I was tired, why I wasn't acting normal. And for the first time, I didn't bend. I didn't lie to make him comfortable. I didn't apologize for being distant. Instead, I said, "I'm taking some space in my head. I need to understand what I'm feeling." His eyes darkened. Space. The breaking point. In the days that followed, I became a quiet observer of my own life. It felt like I had stepped outside myself, watching everything from a distance. Daniel's words, my reactions, the tiny shifts in my heart. Nothing explosive happened. No big fight, no betrayal, no sudden moment of clarity. Just small things, small moments, small awakenings, collecting like raindrops until they formed a flood. And once that flood begins, you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel it. You can't pretend you're drowning. The apartment felt different. Every morning, I would wake up before Daniel. The apartment used to feel warm, cozy, ours. But now it felt like a place I was visiting, a place where the walls remembered a version of me I no longer recognized. I would make tea in silence, holding the warm mug between my palms. Sometimes I'd look around and wonder, how many pieces of myself did I leave behind in this place? And how many more would I lose if I stayed? Daniel would come out of the bedroom, still sleepy, still beautiful in that disarming way of his, and he would kiss my forehead like he used to. Anyone watching would think it was tenderness, but I had learned something. A kiss can still feel like control. A touch can still feel like ownership. Intentions matter more than gestures, and his intentions had changed long ago. The friend who spoke truth. On Friday afternoon, Maya insisted we have lunch together. A real lunch, not a rushed hallway conversation. We sat at a small restaurant near the office, the kind with sunlight streaming through tall windows and little plants on every table. After we ordered, she exhaled deeply. "Alina," she said softly, "whatever is happening, I'm here, and I need you to know something." I felt my throat tighten, but I nodded. She reached across the table, gently touching my hand. "You're not the same person you were 2 years ago. You used to be so full of life, so bright. You had dreams. You had opinions. You used to stand up for yourself." A sharp pain hit my chest. "And now?" I whispered, afraid to ask. She hesitated, then said the truth I wasn't brave enough to say out loud. "Now, you shrink." The word hit me like a slap. Shrink? I swallowed hard. But before I could speak, she continued, "I don't think Daniel is good for you." My heart dropped. She said it quietly, gently, without judgment. But she said it, and it was the first time anyone had given voice to the thing I had been afraid to even think. I stared at her, feeling a sting behind my eyes. "You don't know him like I do," I whispered, the automatic defense I had been trained to say. But even I didn't believe it. She squeezed my hand again. "I don't need to know him. I know you. And I know when my friend is disappearing." Her words settled into me like seeds. Painful? True. Undeniable. And as we parted ways after lunch, she hugged me and whispered, "Come back to yourself, Alina. I miss you." I didn't say it out loud, but I missed me too. Daniel felt the change. It's strange how people can sense a shift, how even a little independence can feel threatening to the wrong person. Daniel noticed immediately. He became more watchful, more questioning, more reactive. "Why are you quiet? Why didn't you answer right away? Who are you talking to? What did your friends say to you? Are you hiding something?" Every question felt like a test. Every conversation felt like a trap. One evening, as I poured myself a glass of water, he leaned against the counter and watched me. "You've changed," he said flatly. I kept my voice steady. "I'm just thinking more." His jaw clenched. "Thinking about what?" "About myself," I said. He scoffed. "There's nothing wrong with you. Stop making problems where there aren't any." But there were problems. Real ones. Deep ones. He just didn't want me to see them. He didn't want me to lose the version of me who didn't question him, the version he could mold, shape, control. But that version was slipping away. The night everything broke open. It was a Tuesday evening, cold, windy, the kind of night where the air feels too sharp to breathe. Daniel came home irritated, something at work, something about his boss, something that had nothing to do with me. But people like him don't hold discomfort alone. They pass it on. As soon as he walked through the door, he sighed loudly. "Why is this place a mess?" he demanded. It wasn't. The apartment was clean, tidy, exactly the same as always. "I've been working all day," I responded calmly. "I didn't have time to—" "Excuses," he snapped. "You've been distracted for weeks." "I'm tired, Daniel." "Yeah, tired of me, right?" I flinched. He stepped closer. I stepped back. Not much, just a few inches. But it was enough. His eyes hardened. "You think you can disrespect me?" "I'm not disrespecting anyone," I whispered. "I'm just giving myself space." "Space from what? From me? From this relationship?" His voice grew louder. "You're being ungrateful. You know how many people would kill for a partner like me?" That line, that exact line, I'd heard it before. Not from Daniel, from my past, from someone else I had once tried to love, from someone who also mistook control for affection. Something inside me cracked open. I stared at him, really stared at him, and for the first time, I saw clearly. The manipulation, the blame shifting, the emotional twisting, it was all there. I just hadn't wanted to see it. But that night, my eyes refused to close. The words I never thought I'd say. Daniel stood in front of me, arms crossed, waiting for me to crumble. But I didn't. Not this time. "I need time," I said softly, firmly. He laughed loud, sharp, disbelieving. "You don't get to decide that, Alina." My breath caught. He stepped closer. "You're mine." And that was the moment, the breaking point, the sentence that shattered the illusion completely. Something hot and fierce surged through me. Not anger, not fear, but self-respect. I lifted my chin and said with a voice I hardly recognized, "I am not yours." The room went silent. His face twisted with shock, then rage, then something almost like fear. "What did you say?" I repeated it, louder, clearer, steadier. "I am not yours." He tightened fists at his sides. "You're acting crazy." "No," I said. "I'm finally acting like myself." He stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't chase him. I didn't apologize. I didn't shrink. I just stood there, shaking, breathing, alive. The aftermath of courage. My hands trembled for hours afterwards. My heart beat too fast. My legs felt weak. My breath felt uneven. The next morning, Mira woke up earlier than usual. Not because she slept well, but because she didn't sleep at all. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same scene. Arav standing in the cold hallway, half smiling, half broken, saying softly, "Mira, just tell me what you need from me." But she had said nothing, just silence. A silence that felt louder than any scream. At school, the distance began. Arav walked into class and looked for her immediately. She was there, but she didn't look at him even once. No smile, no wave, not even a small glance. It was like she was sitting behind a wall he couldn't cross. Arav swallowed hard. Is she mad? Did I scare her? Did I say something wrong? He kept thinking and overthinking until it hurt. Lunch break, the first crack. He finally gathered courage and walked toward her table. "Hey," he said softly. Mira froze for a moment. Then she forced a smile. "Oh, hey." Just 2 words. 2 dry, emotionless words. Ara felt something drop inside his chest. She's slipping away from me, and I don't know why. That evening, the message that never sent. Arav typed a message on his phone. "Mira, are we okay? I feel like you're avoiding me." He stared at the screen for a long time. His thumb hovered over send, but he never sent it. Because fear whispered to him, what if she says yes? What if she actually wants distance? What if I'm losing her? Mira sighed, her heart versus her mind. At home, Mira sat on her bed hugging a pillow tightly. She wasn't ignoring him because she didn't care. She was ignoring him because she cared too much. Her heart was moving forward, but her mind was pulling her back. If I get too close, if I let him in, what if I lose him? What if I break? What if he changes? What if everything goes wrong? Overthinking is a quiet enemy. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And Mira was losing to those whispers. The breaking point. That night, Mira opened her chat with Arav. She typed, "I'm sorry if I seem distant. My mind is just messy." She stared at the message, then her hand slowly moved to delete it. She erased the whole text because her fear told her, why tell him? He'll think you're too much, too emotional, too complicated. And once again, she chose silence. A perfect storm brewing. 2 people, both hurting, both missing each other, both wanting to talk, both being held back by fears they never voiced. Arav thought, she doesn't want me anymore. Mira thought, I'm getting attached. I need to protect myself. Neither knew the truth. But destiny was about to force them into a moment where nothing could stay hidden anymore.
The sky that evening was strange, half dark, half glowing, like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be, just like Mira and Arav. After school, the unplanned moment. Arav walked toward the school gate with slow steps, headphones in his ears, but no music playing. He was tired, not physically, but emotionally. As he reached the gate, he stopped suddenly, because he saw her. Mira was standing on the opposite side, holding her bag close to her chest, looking around nervously like she was waiting for someone. Or avoiding someone. Arav hesitated. Should I go to her? Should I walk away? What if she doesn't even want me near? But fate didn't wait for him to decide. A loud thunder crashed. The sky opened. It started raining hard. Mira covered her head quickly, but her face showed panic. Without thinking, Arav ran toward her. "Mira!" he shouted through the rain. She turned, her hair wet, her eyes tired, her hands shaking slightly. For the first time in days, their eyes met. Really met. Their unspoken pain stood between them, but neither looked away. The shelter. Arav grabbed her wrist gently. "Come, there's shade there." He pulled her toward the small tin-roofed shed near the wall. The rain was hitting hard. The space was small, too small. They stood close, closer than they had ever been, both breathing heavy, both pretending everything was fine, both failing at pretending. Arav breaks first. Mira stared at the ground. Arav stared at her. He couldn't hold it anymore. "Mira, what's happening?" His voice cracked, just a little, but she heard it. "You don't look at me. You don't talk to me. You don't smile. Did I do something?" Mira's heartbeat stumbled. "No, you didn't," she whispered. "Then why are you pushing me away?" Her lips trembled. "I'm not." "You are," Arav said softly, and the softness hurt more than anger. He looked down, then back up. "Just tell me the truth. If you don't want me around, I'll step back." Those last two words hit Mira like a punch. Step back? He would really leave just like that? Is this what she wanted? Or what she feared the most? Her breath became uneven. Arav, I don't want you to step back." He swallowed. "Then why are you acting like you do?" Mira's walls began to crack. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. How could she explain something she didn't understand herself? How could she say, "I'm scared of how much you matter. I'm scared of trusting someone. I'm scared because you make me feel safe. And that's new. I'm scared of losing you before I even have you." Her eyes filled. One tear escaped, then another. Arav froze. "Mira, hey, don't cry, please." "I'm not pushing you away, Arav," she whispered. "Then what are you doing?" I'm pushing myself away." Arav stared at her confused. "Why?" She looked up, her voice shaking. "Because I didn't want you to see how much you affect me." Silence. Heavy. Loud. Breaking them open. And then, the moment. Arav stepped closer. Very close. The rain was on one side, his heartbeat on the other. He lifted her chin gently. "Mira, I'm right here. I was always right here." Her tears kept falling. Arav whispered, "Stop running from me. I don't want to lose you over fears you never told me." Something inside Mira finally collapsed. The wall, the silence, the distance. She whispered back, "I don't want to lose you either." Their breathing synced. Their hands brushed. Their hearts spoke louder than words. And in that tiny rain shelter, something between them changed forever. Not love, not yet, but something that felt dangerously close to it.
For the next few days, something strange but beautiful happened. Arav and Mira weren't officially anything, but they weren't nothing either. They talked more, smiled more, looked at each other a little longer than normal. The distance was gone, but the fear was still there, quiet, hiding, waiting. And it was about to show itself again. The message that shook her. One night, Mira was studying when her phone buzzed. "Arav, are you awake?" Her lips curved into a soft smile. "Mira, yes. Why?" Arav took a minute before replying. "Can I tell you something?" Her heart skipped. "Tell me." Another pause. Longer this time. Then, "Arav, sometimes I feel like you'll disappear again." Her smile faded. Completely. She stared at his text, feeling guilt crawling inside her chest. She typed, "I won't." But she deleted it. She typed again, "I'm here," but deleted it again. She finally locked her phone and put it away. Not because she didn't care, but because she cared too much and didn't know how to say the right words. She didn't reply at all. And silence hurts more than a no. Arav sighed. The trigger. Arav waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes. 10. An hour. Nothing. He finally put his phone down and whispered to himself, "Why do I always expect too much?" He didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. Next morning, tension in the air. Mira walked into class planning to explain, but one look at Arav and her breath caught. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't looking at her. He was acting normal, too normal. And normal from someone who cares hurts more than anger. She walked toward him slowly. "Good morning," she whispered. Arav looked up briefly. "Morning." Just one word. Dry, flat, protective. Her stomach twisted. The confrontation. At break time, she found him standing near the old staircase. "Arav, can I talk to you?" He didn't look at her. "Yeah, sure." But his tone was a wall. "Arav, about last night." "You don't have to explain," he said sharply. "I get it." "No, you don't." He finally looked at her, and she saw it. The hurt he was trying to hide. Arav exhaled slowly. "You say you don't want to push me away, but that's exactly what you do, Mira." Her throat tightened. "I didn't do it on purpose." "He knows. But it still hurts." Mira blinked fast. Her voice cracked a little. "I'm trying. I'm trying too, but I'm scared I'll try more than you, and one day it'll break me." Those words, so honest, so raw, hit her harder than anything he'd ever said. Mira breaking point. Suddenly, Mira felt small, useless, not enough. Tears filled her eyes. "I don't want to hurt you," she whispered. "Then stop disappearing when things get real," he breathed. "I didn't know what to say," she said, voice trembling. "You don't have to say something perfect. You just have to say something, anything, to show me you're not leaving." Mira wiped her tears. "I'm scared of how much you mean to me," she said, finally letting the truth out. Arav stared at her for a long moment. His anger softened, his shoulders relaxed. His eyes warmed again. "Mira," he whispered, "I'm scared too." But the damage was done. They didn't fight. They didn't walk away. But something between them quietly cracked. A small crack, invisible, but real. The kind of crack that grows if you ignore it. And Destiny was preparing a moment that would test them harder than anything so far. A moment that would decide whether they were meant to be or meant to break.
The next few days were strange. Not bad, not good, just different. Arav and Mira still talked, still walked together, still shared small smiles. But something invisible stood between them. A thin, quiet tension that neither fully understood, but both deeply felt. The crack was still there. Not broken, but not whole either. The school event. One afternoon, their class was preparing for the annual school exhibition. Everyone was busy, laughing, talking, cutting charts, carrying props. Mira was helping a group paint posters when she heard someone mention Arav's name. "Did you hear?" a girl whispered. "He's paired with Rhea for the presentation."
Rhea? The other girl asked, smirking. She likes him, doesn't she? Obviously. And she's not subtle about it. They both giggled. Mira froze. Her paintbrush slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. Paired with Rhea? The girl who was always around him? Always laughing with him? Always touching his arm accidentally? Her chest tightened painfully. Why does this bother me so much? We're not even anything. But her heart didn't care about labels. It cared about him. And it hurt. Arav noticed her change. Later, Arav passed by and saw Mira standing alone, quiet, distracted. Mira, okay? He asked. She nodded quickly. Yeah, just tired. He frowned slightly. You sure? She avoided his eyes. I'm fine. But she wasn't. And Arav could sense it. He always could. He stepped a little closer. Mira, talk to me. Her voice came out softer than she intended. I heard you're presenting with Rhea. Arav blinked. That's what you're upset about? I'm not upset, she said quickly. He raised an eyebrow. You look upset. I'm not, she repeated, but her voice broke on the last word. Arav stared at her, slow, careful. Then he asked gently, Mira, are you jealous? Her eyes widened. No, of course not. Why would I? Arav smiled softly. Not teasing, not mocking. Just understanding. You don't have to hide it. I get jealous too, he whispered. Her sobs stopped for a second. You do? All the time, Arav said, his voice low and honest. Whenever you smile at someone else, whenever someone else gets your attention, whenever I feel like I'm losing you, even a little. Mira's heart shattered and healed all at once. But then, the unexpected scene. Later that day, while Mira was looking for her notebook, she walked past the science lab and stopped dead in her tracks. Through the glass door, she saw Arav and Rhea practicing their presentation. Rhea stood too close, laughing too loud, touching his arm again. And Arav? He wasn't pulling away. He looked comfortable, relaxed, normal. It was nothing, absolutely nothing. But to a heart that cares, even nothing feels like pain. Mira felt something sting inside her chest, a small, sharp ache. She hated it, but she couldn't stop it. The withdrawal. That evening, Arav messaged her. Reached home? Mira stared at the message. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed, yes, then deleted that. She typed again. Yeah, deleted that too. She finally sent just one word. Yes. Dry, cold, distant. Arav stared at her message with a sinking feeling. It's happening again. She's pulling away. His throat tightened. Mira, please don't disappear again, he typed. But for a long time, she didn't reply. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know how to explain the strange, painful jealousy she didn't want to admit. The storm is coming. That night, both of them lay awake. Mira staring at the ceiling, whispering to herself, why does it hurt so much to see him with her? What's happening to me? Why am I scared again? Arav, staring at his phone, thinking, is she losing feelings? Is she tired of me? Did I mess up? Both hurting, both confused, both scared of saying too much. And Destiny was quietly preparing the moment where their fear, jealousy, and hurt would finally collide. A moment that would change everything.
The next day felt heavier than usual. Mira woke up with that uneasy feeling, the kind that sits in your chest like a stone and refuses to move. She got dressed slowly, her mind replaying the image of Rhea standing close to Arav, laughing like she had every right in the world to be near him. Mira hated herself for feeling jealous, but she hated the ache even more. School felt different today. Arav noticed the moment Mira walked in. She didn't look at him, not even once. She walked straight to her desk, head down, earphones in, walls up. Arav felt it like a punch in the chest. Why is she doing this again? Why does she shut me out every time she's hurt? He wanted to go to her, but she was clearly avoiding him. Again. The trigger. During break, the teacher announced, "Everyone presenting at the exhibition, please move to the science lab." Mira froze. Science lab? Where Arav and Rhea practiced, where she saw them laughing, where the ache began. She told herself she didn't care. She lied to herself again. Mira stood in the corner of the lab, pretending to scroll on her phone. Rhea locked in with Arav. Too happy. Too familiar. "Arav, help me with this part again," she asked, touching his arm lightly. Something inside Mira snapped. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. Just a quiet, painful shatter. Arav noticed Mira immediately. He saw her look away, saw her jaw tighten, saw the hurt she was trying so hard to hide. He excused himself from Rhea instantly. "Mira," he said softly, approaching her, "can we talk?" She didn't look at him. "Nothing to talk about." "Mira," he repeated, voice softer, "look at me." She didn't. And that hurt him more than anything. Arav finally breaks. He stepped in front of her, blocking her view. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered. "What did I do this time?" She clenched her jaw. "Nothing." "That's not true," Arav said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You're avoiding me again. You barely talk. You don't smile. You don't look at me. Just tell me what I did. I'll fix it." His voice cracked on the last words. Mira's heart squeezed painfully. She whispered, "You didn't do anything." "Then why are you hurting me like this?" he asked. She looked up sharply. "Hurt you?" "Yes," he said, eyes glistening with frustration. "Do you think it doesn't hurt when you pull away every time you're scared? Every time something bothers you? Every time we get close?" Mira's lips trembled. "I'm not doing it on purpose." "Then talk to me," he said louder than he intended. The room fell silent. Mira swallowed hard. Her eyes burned, but she blinked the tears away. Mira finally cracks. "You want to know why?" she whispered. Arav nodded, desperate. "Because I saw you with Rhea,
and it made me feel like I'm nothing. Like I'm just a temporary person in your life. Like I'm someone you can replace so easily. Arav's breath caught. Mira continued, voice trembling. And then I get scared. Scared that I'm catching feelings I shouldn't. Scared that I'll lose you. Scared that you'll get bored of me. So instead of telling you, I run. I pull away because it feels safer than admitting what I feel. She looked down. I'm not strong like you, Arav. I don't know how to handle emotions like you do. I panic. A tear escaped, despite her trying to stop it. Arav's entire expression softened, from hurt to relief to something deeper. Arav stepped closer. Mira, he whispered, stepping closer. You think you're nothing to me? She didn't answer. Look at me. Slowly, she did. Arav shook his head, voice low and full of emotion. You're the only person I think about the whole day. The only one I wait for. The only one's messages matter. You're not temporary. You're not replaceable. She blinked rapidly, stunned. Arav continued. And Ria, she's just a partner for a project. Nothing more. If I knew it bothered you, I would have asked the teacher to switch immediately. Mira's lips parted in surprise. Then he said the sentence that completely broke her. Mira, I choose you every time, but you have to stop choosing fear over me. Her breath hitched. Everything inside her, fear, jealousy, confusion, pain, collapsed at once. For the first time ever, Mira didn't run. She whispered, barely audible, I'm sorry. Arav shook his head. I don't want sorry. She looked up, eyes glassy. Then what do you want? He took a deep breath. You, he said softly. Just you. Without the walls, without the silence, without disappearing every time something hurts. Her heart hitched. Everything inside her, fear, jealousy, confusion, pain, collapsed at once. For the first time ever, Mira didn't run. She whispered, barely audible, I'm sorry. Arav shook his head. I don't want sorry. She looked up, eyes glassy. Then what do you want? He took a deep breath. You, he said softly. Just you. Without the walls, without the silence, without disappearing every time something hurts. Her heart hitched. Two people, two wounded hearts, two truths finally spoken. This was the moment their story truly changed. Not because everything got fixed, but because nothing was hidden anymore. And destiny was now ready to take them to the next chapter of their connection. That evening, Mira couldn't focus on anything. Her textbooks lay open, untouched, her mind replaying every word she had exchanged with Arav. Her chest felt tight, her heart loud, her mind caught in a whirlwind of emotions she wasn't sure she was ready to handle. The walk home. Arav offered to walk her home. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The streets were quiet, lit by flickering street lamps and soft moonlight. The air smelled of wet pavement and faint blossoms, a quiet, tender reminder that the world kept moving even when hearts felt frozen. They walked side by side, their hands brushing sometimes, but neither reaching to hold the other. Not yet. The tension between them was still there, but lighter, not suffocating anymore, just real. The first honest conversation. Mira spoke, her voice barely audible. I'm I'm scared, Arav. Scared of how much I care. He stopped walking and turned toward her. Scared? Of caring for me? She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. I I don't know how to handle it. I feel too much. And I hate that it hurts me when I feel too much. Arav reached out, gently taking her hand this time. Feeling too much isn't a weakness, Mira. It's who you are. It's why I can't stop thinking about you. Her eyes widened. Her breath caught. Her heart leapt. Vulnerability meets courage. They continued walking, hands entwined this time, not fully, not perfectly, but enough to feel the connection without words. Arab's voice was soft, almost a whisper against the night. Every time you pull away, I feel like I'm losing a part of myself. I don't want to lose you, Mira. Not ever. She stopped, looked up at him, and whispered, I'm trying. I'm really trying. I want to be brave. For you. For me. He smiled gently, and that small, soft smile felt like a promise. The moment before everything changed. Just as they reached her doorstep, the weight of the night and all unspoken words pressed down. She hesitated, heart racing. She didn't know if she should. He saw her hesitation. Gently, he tilted her chin up. Their eyes locked. The world seemed to pause. I'm right here, he whispered. Always. I'll wait. I'll listen. I'll be here, no matter what. Mira's lips trembled. Her walls cracked completely. And in that moment, the tears she had been holding back for weeks finally fell freely. The first touch that meant everything. Arav leaned in slowly, not rushing, not forcing. Mira closed her eyes. When their lips finally met, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't about passion. It was about relief, trust, and the release of fear. It was the first real moment they had truly let themselves feel. A soft, tender, vulnerable connection that neither of them could deny. When they pulled apart, both were breathing heavily, both smiling softly, both knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. A quiet promise. Stay, Arav whispered, right here, with me. No walls, no running. Mira nodded, finally letting go of her fear. I will. I promise.
The
And in
days
that
after that
night,
night were
under the quiet glow of street
different.
lamps, two hearts that had been
Not because
wounded,
everything was perfect.
scared, and uncertain finally
Not
began
because
to
the cracks
heal
had vanished
together.
completely. But because they were honest now. Mira and Arav didn't hide from each other anymore. They didn't run. They didn't pretend. They simply chose each other. Morning Reflections. Mira woke up one morning, sunlight spilling over her desk. She felt lighter than she had in months. The walls that had trapped her heart were finally opening, one brick at a time.
She picked up her journal and wrote, "I am brave. I am allowed to feel. I am allowed to care. And I am allowed to choose love without fear." For the first time, she didn't hesitate. She didn't second guess herself. She chose herself and him. Honest communication. Every conversation between them became a little more open, a little more raw. Small misunderstandings were addressed immediately. Small jealousies were expressed instead of suppressed. Small fears were shared instead of hidden. Arav would hold her hand and say, "I'm not going anywhere." Not for a misunderstanding, not for a fear, not for anything. And Mira would nod, feeling the safety and warmth she had been craving for so long. Shared moments of growth. They started sharing little rituals. Breakfast together on lazy weekends. Walks under the quiet sun. Journaling their thoughts and reading them to each other. Laughing over mistakes rather than letting them fester. They weren't perfect. Arguments still happened. Miscommunications still occurred. But every challenge was met together as a team. And slowly, the fear and insecurity that had once ruled Mira's heart began to fade. Turning fear into strength. One rainy evening, Mira looked at Arav as they shared a quiet umbrella walk. She admitted, "I used to be scared of everything. Scared of feelings. Scared of losing. Scared of failing." He squeezed her hand gently. "You're not scared anymore. You're learning. You're strong. And we're in this together." Her heart swelled because for the first time, she realized fear didn't disappear. It became manageable. It became something that brought them closer instead of pulling them apart. Yellow, the first real commitment. One afternoon, Arav took Mira to the small bench at the park where they had first shared their secrets and vulnerabilities. He looked into her eyes fully and gently. "Mira," he said softly, "I can't promise life will be easy. I can't promise that fear or jealousy won't come back. But I can promise that I'll be here. That I'll choose you every day. Even when it's hard. Even when we're scared. Even when it hurts." Mira's eyes glistened with tears. "I choose you too," she whispered. "I choose us." And for the first time, they didn't just feel love. They understood it. Asana, a future built together. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. Every day wasn't perfect, but every day was chosen. Every conversation was a bridge instead of a wall. Every fear became an opportunity to grow together. Every tear became a lesson in courage. They laughed harder, loved deeper, and grew stronger together. And Mira finally realized what she had learned all along. Choosing yourself is not selfish. Choosing love is not weakness. Choosing the right person is about honesty, bravery, and trust. She had chosen herself first. And in doing so, she had found someone worthy of her love. Final words. Life isn't about perfect moments. It's about choosing bravery, kindness, and connection over fear, pain, and doubt. Mira and Arav's story wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was raw. It was honest. And in the end, that's all love ever asks. To see clearly, to feel deeply, and to choose every day what matters most. We reach the end of Naatuet,